Hello, Gerald Thompson here, international opera singer and voice teacher. In this video, we'll be working on how to balance the voice or make sure that you have a consistent sound throughout your entire range. In classical technique, we often refer to this as chiaroscuro, or brightness, darkness. So it's making sure that all of the vowels have an equal amount of brightness and darkness within them. For more contemporary singers, this is also making sure that you have a nice balanced mixed voice and making sure that the head or chest voice isn't too breathy or too squeezed. Everyone will first want to check their own voice to see if there is one vowel that feels more balanced than the others. We'll try this out by singing E, A, A, O, U after one another in the middle of the range. E, A, O, U. If you can notice the differences between these vowels, we can work on trying to make one sound that stays throughout all of the vowels. Now, how to get this balance of bright and dark depends on a few factors in the voice. The brightness comes in when we close the vocal cords properly. That's called squillo. Try to find that brightness in the sound first. I find that oftentimes that's easier to find on an E vowel. E. An E vowel is typically very bright and forward placed, but that's only half of what we're trying to do. So now let's see if we can get a bit of the darkness. That's often easier found in a nice hooty oo vowel. Ooh, ooh. Ooh. You'll notice when you do this that there's a lot of back space happening. There's not much happening with brightness and forward placement. It's very much in the back of the resonant space. Ooh, ooh. When you do this, you might also notice that the larynx lowers slightly. That'll give you a nice darker quality as well. It's almost like you're yawning. Ooh, ooh. So if you yawn into your hooty oo vowel, that'll help get that darker space. Ooh. And then to get our perfect balance, we actually only need to join these two vowels together. So we'll do the hooty oo, but we'll sing an E at the same time. That would sound like this. E, E, ooh, E, E. Now, depending on your repertoire you're singing will determine how much darkness or brightness you want in your sound. In classical singing, we're going to want a bit more of that dark backspace in our sound. That full resonance is actually going to help us carry over an orchestra. In the contemporary music, oftentimes we'll want a bit more brighter sound. Ooh, ooh. It doesn't need to be as dark as the classical sound. Let's try to incorporate this mix of ooh-ee into an exercise. If you weren't able to keep the sound consistently throughout, where did it change? Did it change on the top note that it was a bit brighter? Or did it get really dark on the last note? These are the things that you need to make sure that are not going to happen if you want to consistently have a balanced sound throughout your entire voice. The tendency is often that in the extremes of the voice, the highs and the lows, we'll do strange things that actually will change this vocal quality. If you press up into the top of the voice, using a lot of chest voice at the top, it will often get very bright and will lose that bit of darkness. Or if you flip over into a very heady sound, you'll lose some of that lower quality and it'll get breathy. So we're wanting to make sure that we're always keeping this nice balance of the oo and the e as you continue doing this exercise. Let's take it up a bit and I'll show you what I mean. If we were to stay in a more chesty sound at the top, it could sound like this. If we just make sure that we're keeping the lips nice and round and we're trying to open up that back space as we go to the top, then that won't happen. It will sound more like this. Or if it goes breathy at the top, it could sound like this. And there we need a bit more of that vocal cord closure at the top. It's getting a bit too breathy here. It's not closing properly. You could try to add in a bit of a glottal, just to feel the vocal cords closing. And then go back to singing the full exercise, thinking that vocal cord closure on each note. The same holds true as when we're going into the lower part of our range. If it gets too breathy, you can add in a bit of that just to feel the vocal cords closing, and then take it away to try to see if you can maintain that sound. And if it's too chesty, making sure that you're staying nice and round and that you're keeping a resonance that's staying nice and heady, that you're not letting it fall, just in a chest voice, that we're keeping, a nice heady resonance there so that we can keep this balance. The next thing that we need to do is to try to get this feeling of balance on all of our vowels. So let's pick a note in the middle of the range. We have our hooty oo, with the E, and we're going to try to move from one vowel to the other very slowly, but not lose this space that we've created. Now, a tendency is the more open that you go with your vowel, the more breathy it's going to be. This could happen. If that does happen, try to think of the vowel being very compact, that we're not going to open up as much as you think that you need to on that ah vowel. And having this more gathered sound is actually going to help maintain this consistent sound throughout the notes. Oftentimes, if the voice is feeling too tight, then maybe this feeling is too small for your voice. Then it might be a bit too bright. E, and you need a bit more of that open feeling in the back. And so we're constantly just trying to see how can we maintain the same feeling of openness and brightness throughout all of the range and all of the vowels we sing. We'll do quickly an E exercise going up into the top of the range just so that you feel what that's like, and we'll do one going into the bottom of the range so that we feel what that's like. We'll start here. Making sure that at the top that we don't go breathy or too tight so that the tone is feeling squeezed. For my voice in particular, I have to make sure that I don't go into a squeezed position. Is what that would sound like. I really need to make sure that I'm keeping back space and open space. And to help with that, I make sure that I'm keeping the mouth nice and round and that I'm supporting. If you need some help making sure that you're staying in proper support, check out my other videos on breath. If you are a singer that it flips over into a breathy quality at the top and you're trying to make sure that you're keeping your balance there, you could add in a bit more E to that sound just to make sure that you're not going into a too dark or breathy place. It would sound like this if it was breathy. You could try adding in a little glottal staccato going up. That you feel what it's like to have the vocal cords closing on that note without trying to sustain it afterwards. And then once that works well, you can then try to keep that same feeling as you join the notes together. Now the same holds true for the low part of the range. We'll start here. Again, if you're using too much of that bright sound, the sound will become very chest dominant. And we need to make sure that we're keeping round and adding in some head resonance to that sound. Or if it's getting very breathy, and you're not actually able to sustain this note, you might again try adding in a bit of a glottal or singing on a really bright E just to like get those chords together. Once we've done these exercises on the OO vowel, then we need to see if we can incorporate all of the vowels throughout the entire range so that everything stays in this nice balanced place. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure and give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with your friends. Tschüss!